All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to tonight's episode of Teen Talk Live. And I know you probably are thinking we're not having Teen Talk Live tonight, but no, that's not the case. We are having Teen Talk Live tonight, and I was just caught up talking to our guests because we have a fabulous show for you, and I can't wait to share with you all this great stuff that we're having. So I'm just coming off of the Mother-Daughter Telesummit, and oh my goodness, it was so exciting. And if you have not purchased your access to that, you still can purchase your access for only $27, and that's just going to be till the rest of this week. So if you are still looking for access to the Mother-Daughter Telesummit recordings, you can still do that. All right, so tonight we have a special guest, Nselaa Ward. Did I say it right?
Nselaa, yes, but
Nselaa,
everybody, I
Nselaa.
told you everybody has the issue, so it's okay.
I'm
I
working
respond
on it.
to just about everything.
I am working on it. Sorry about that. I'm gonna get it right, Nselaa Ward, and she has some great things to share with us tonight, and I'm excited. Welcome, Nselaa.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I'm finally here at Teen Talk. I'm excited.
Yes. So, tell us, or tell the audience, how do you serve in the world?
Well, I serve in a lot of ways. One of the things is, I did practice law for going on a decade. However, now I am expanded with my business architect firm here in our Georgia, Peach State. And we're expanding nationwide, which is amazing and awesome. I just did a TED Talk, which I'm really excited about. And it was called Leadership and Diversity Lessons from the Bar, which was really exciting. And from that TED Talk, I recently expanded to our program that we call From Corner Blocks to Corner Offices. And it focuses on youth who have been part of the criminal industrial complex, as well as former sex workers, domestic violence victims, and sexual assault survivors. And it works with the youth to be able to empower themselves, re-empower themselves through entrepreneurship. So doing a lot of exciting things right now.
That is really exciting. And you just shared with me about the organization that you've just been appointed president of. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, the Optimist Club, Georgia's Optimist Club International. Is a 100-year-old organization. I actually was involved in it when I was a teenager. Actually, when I was going through some of my stress and some of my stories in life, I was involved in the Optimist International Club. They have a speech competition every year that I used to do when I was younger, which has a $50,000 prize at the end, and you can compete in it from the ages of 8 to 19. So it's amazing. But it has a lot of other youth programs as well. So I was recently appointed / voted as the president of the Georgia Optimist Club International, and we're really excited. We're holding an inauguration and a dinner, and it's open to the public. We welcome everybody on May 20th at 7 p.m. And it is at Piccadilly's in Decatur, actually.
Oh.
It's at Piccadilly's in Decatur, yes. Over at the mall, and we will invite you all. We will treat you to lunch. If you send me an inbox message, you want to come and you want to bring a guest, I will treat you. Actually, dinner at the time, because it's going to be 7 p.m. at night. I will treat you to dinner, Miss Ann. I want to invite you out too. We're gonna treat you and your viewers, if they want to come. We'll treat all of you guys to dinner, and just come and learn a little bit about what we do. We're a civics organization, and we work to re-empower the youth. So we want to get everybody involved in some of our activities.
Anything about the youth, I am so excited about. Serving the young people is it's amazing, and that's why I choose to do that globally, because we're changing legacies, we're changing generations, we're just making changes, and I applaud you for doing that. And congratulations on the TED Talk.
Thank you.
That is major.
It was very exciting. I went all the way to Madrid, Spain which was
Wow.
awesome. It was beautiful. It was gorgeous there. And, we had some very personal conversations. We had some very personal conversations about some very real things. It was called Leadership and Diversity from the Bar. And a lot of people, when they hear that, they think that I'm talking about from the attorney bar, because I practiced law for such a long time. But there's some surprises in the story, because it's really not talking about the attorney bar. It's not even talking about a drinking bar. It's talking about the leadership and diversity lessons that I learned from my experiences as a sex worker. So it talks about the bar that sex workers are working in. And it was amazing. It was very receptive. Everybody, I had so many people come to me afterwards and say, I'm really glad that, you told your story, because I know somebody that has a story like that. And I think that this story can help them. So I definitely, guys, check it out. It hasn't come out yet. It comes out in the beginning of June. So You can look it up on either the TED.com website, or you can check it out on TED's YouTube channel, right? TEDx YouTube channel. And you can look for leadership. The title of it is Leadership and Diversity Lessons from the Bar. Or you can search for my name, Nselaa Ward, which is spelled a little weird, right? We just had that conversation earlier. Nselaa Ward, W-A-R-D, Juris Doctor. So you can look it up either way. It was amazing though. So I would love for you guys to check it out, put some comments under it, and let me know what you think.
Yes, Nselaa. So let's talk about that, because you didn't always have your Juris doctorate, right?
That's
You
right.
didn't always slay Wall Street, right?
Right.
You weren't always a TED Talk person, celebrity.
That's right.
Right.
That's
but
right.
in all of that you've been doing throughout your life, it was preparing you for this moment and this time in your life.
And that's right. That's right. That's right. Everything we do has prepared us for what's about to happen. And I receive it as that. I do. I receive it as that.
That's so exciting.
It is. And I get excited about the path that has taken me on in the future. A lot of people say, you had such a stressful life. Actually, when they were introducing me at the TED Talk, the person that introduced me, he was saying, this young lady, she's had a very difficult, a very stressful life. And I've never felt that way. I've never felt like it was any different, than anybody else, because to me, it was just living life. It just felt like life. And I've never really seen, the pains in my life as necessarily pain. Every time I've gone through something that's been difficult, I've always had to ask myself, what is it that I'm supposed to learn from this lesson? What am I supposed to take from this? And once I started seeing it as a stepping stone, it just created that pathway going up. I use failures, pains as stepping stones on my way to the top. But yes, what you said is absolutely true. I wasn't always an attorney, and I wasn't always a business architect. My story started out, about 30 years ago in the middle of crack houses and trailer parks. My mother was on crack cocaine ever since I was 7 years old. So I found out that Santa Claus wasn't real, and that kind of just pivoted and changed my life. When I was about 11 years old, I remember coming home and I couldn't get in. I think I was playing out with my friends somewhere, and I couldn't get in the house, but I could hear my little brothers on the other side of the door. And at the time, my little brothers had to be, one was less than 1 year old and another one was 4. So they really couldn't get to the door. And I knocked and I knocked and I knocked and I couldn't get in. So I ended up having to climb up the balcony, from around the house and breaking into the slide door. So once I actually got into the house, I saw that my little brothers in there, they were alone. And if anybody has ever dealt with people that have been addicted to crack cocaine, that sometimes they have a tendency to go on what I used to call them missions. In my family, we call them missions. And what missions were is when they would like disappear, for like 2 or 3 days at a time. You wouldn't hear anything from them. And then all of a sudden they would reappear again,
Right.
Hello. Like, hey, I'm back, So I was used to my mom disappearing a little bit. But this time, I was waiting for her. So I was like, okay, she'll be back tomorrow. Waited a day. She never came back. I waited 2 days. She didn't come back 2 days. And this was around Christmas time also, because we were on Christmas break. So, several days passed by. Christmas came and went, and there was no mommy. There was no presents. There was no phone calls. And that's kind of how I figured out that there was no Santa Claus. And that's when my life started to pivot a little bit later on. my grandmother, I got in contact with my grandmother. And the reason I got in contact with her was simply because I thought we was going to run out of food at the time. So of course she sent the reinforcements to the house so that we could figure out what was going on with my mom. But I was a child at the time, so nobody really wanted to tell me what was going on. So I'm wondering, I'm like, okay, what's happening to my mom? Nobody would give me any information. And it's really funny because my little cousins, everybody was always so used to dealing with drug culture. So I had a younger little cousin. She had to be about 9 years old. And she came up to me. She was like, come here, Nselaa, come here. I know what happened to your mom. Come here. I literally remember going to this little crevice, this little corner in the kitchen, like we were doing some type of transaction. And she was like, I heard your mom, she got shot. And I'm like, she got shot? Well, what happened? But, she was hearing it through the grapevine. She was a kid listening to grown folks' conversations.
Yeah.
So she didn't really have a lot of details about what was going on. And so I didn't know if, where she was shot, how bad it was, or if I would even ever see her again, but later on, I did find out that it was true, it was confirmed she did get shot, and she was paralyzed for a certain amount of time. And she wasn't able to take care of me and my little brothers anymore. And that's kind of, that's when life changed. That's when I started having to kind of learn how to fend for myself and create my own future from that point forward.
Wow. So Nselaa, that is incredible. So for those days, after you found your brothers in the house, I'm assuming that you're the oldest.
Yes, I am. I am.
And you found them in the house. And does that mean you took care of them until you reached out to your grandma?
I did. But I was used to taking care of them. It's almost like, that the oldest child curse, we have to be the surrogate mom sometimes. Even when I have one of my siblings that still is with me to this day, he's very grown, but I've had custody of him ever since he was 12 years old. So he still calls me mom, so I've always, and he was actually the baby, that was less than a year old at that point. But I did. I had to take care of them, had to feed them, change their diapers, give them baths every day, make sure that they was taken care of while mom was gone. But I was used to that. Because she had been suffering from this crack cocaine addiction for some years at that point.
Wow. Crack cocaine has done a number on our community.
It really has.
It really has done a number, and it continues to affect generation after generation after generation. So you said, okay, I'm going to, this is my fate. I'm going to take care of these boys. So how did that turn out for you? What are some of the things you had to do to be able to provide for your family?
Well, fast forward some years later, at that point, I had been in and out of trailer parks. I had been arrested. I had stolen cars. I sold drugs. At one point, and then eventually I transcended to the sex industry. If that is if that's a transcendent moment, And when I say that, I was in the sex industry, I mean, at that point, I was exchanging sex for money and other items, other things, in order to be able to take care of myself, and my family, and the things that I took responsibility for at that time. But I remember even at that point, ever since I was 8 years old, I knew that I always wanted to be an attorney. Like, it was something that was always in me. Like, I had this spirit. Entrepreneurship actually is what really legitimately saved my life, but I didn't know how to get there. I remember constantly speaking it into existence. Everywhere I went, I would tell people, I said, I'm gonna be an attorney. I'm gonna be an attorney. I'm gonna be an attorney. And people were like, okay, look, you're a criminal now. Yeah, what kind of attorney are you gonna be?
Right.
And everywhere I went, I knew that I said it, I put it into existence. I said, I'm going to be an attorney. But I didn't have any role models. I didn't have any examples of that. Nobody in my family, were attorneys. Nobody in my community were attorneys. In fact, I had never even seen any attorneys that looked like me, even outside of my community. And when I say initially look like me, I mean as a Black female, not to mention, I didn't know any attorneys that had hung out in crack houses. I didn't know any attorneys that, hung out in trailer parks and exchanged sex. I didn't have any examples of that. So there were really no defined pathways for me coming from where I came from in life to say, okay, you have to do A, B, C, and D to get to E, because nobody had done it. And if I had asked anybody, they would have said, you know what, you done so much stuff in your life, I don't know if you're gonna reach that. You might not can't be an attorney no more. You might not can't get, a legitimate job because, you have a criminal record. You might not be able to change your life. So I had to create my own ideas of what I wanted to be when I grew up. I made sure that I wasn't constrained by the boxes of what everybody else said that I could do. I came from a very unique experience because as sex workers, we were already the outcast of society, right? Yeah. So, everybody always... Exactly. I don't have anything to lose. So I didn't really have to live by the constraints of what society thought was failure and success, and what they thought was failure and success. So what they did is they gave me, the superpower to kind of define failure and success for myself. Right. So I could kind of leap any bounds that I wanted to do because I couldn't fall any further than I already was. I didn't feel like I had anything to risk. And that's how other steps in my life was really birthed. Not really staying in the box of what anybody defined for me, not staying in the box of what anybody said that I could and couldn't do. Like that's one of the things that I will say definitely I learned from, sex work and crack cocaine addiction is that I learned that, no never means no. No means no to them. When somebody is telling you no, it means that they can't do it. Right. Exactly. It don't mean that I can't do it, So when they told me initially, because initially after I passed the bar exam and I had to apply to the bar in order to practice, when I first applied, they was like, well, tell me about this criminal background, that you got here. Like, how do you think you're going to be able to serve clients with all of this behind you, And they told me no in the beginning, and I had to come back and tell them, you know what? You don't really understand what it is that I'm offering you at this point. So let me re-educate you. So I'm grateful for that, because that's one thing that I'm so grateful from my mother. She taught me that no never means no. You know how when crack addicts, they come up to you, they're always asking you for $5. They're like, can I get $5? Right? You're like, no, leave me alone. That, and they'll come back the next day. They're like, let me get $5. And you're like, no, I ain't got $5. Go away. And they come back the next day like, you never said no, right? And then you can cuss them out, and be like, don't ask me for $5 no more. Don't ask me no more. I'm not gonna give you $5. And they'll come back another day and ask you for $5 all over again. It's like that resilience that's there, really kind of it birthed something in me where I just never took no for no. Because that's all I saw, all of the addicts around me, they never took no for no. So I'm like, if they don't take no, why should I take no? Right? Like, they just don't understand. I'm gonna come back tomorrow like you ain't just cussed me out. I'm gonna come back tomorrow like you didn't just tell me no. And I'm explaining to you why you need to tell me yes. So that's something that I'm really grateful about.
Those are real lessons from the streets.
It is.
That's like street university, crack house university.
It is. And honestly, what I've learned even after, dealing with my program from corner blocks to corner offices is that some of the entrepreneurs that I deal with now that are in my program are stronger entrepreneurs than a lot of the attorneys, the doctors, the financial advisors, because they have one of the most resilient qualities that's required in entrepreneurship. That they don't have the fear and the things that are holding them back like the rest of society has. Mm-mm. So they literally have the power to be 10 times as successple, as a lot of the entrepreneurs that are already out here. Absolutely.
And the hustle is real.
It is real and it's powerful, and I'm constantly telling my clients and the people that I work with, if you can hustle a corner block, then you can hustle an enterprise. You can hustle a business. You can hustle a Fortune 500 company, right? You can build something bigger than just that corner block.
When you said that, it just prompted something in my mind that I've always talked about. If we could bring that same concept and that same relevance to the classrooms, think about how our kids would excel.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Absolutely.
it would be real, right? It would be, I'm not saying everybody in the classroom has an experience with somebody, who's hustling on the corner. But I'm just saying, if you can bring that same relevance and that same rigor, I believe that a lot of our kids would excel by making the curriculum and their hustle, which they already know. These kids show up in the classroom with hustle already in them. And
they do.
Stifle that as teachers, right? Think about how they can excel in the academic field.
I absolutely agree with that. I think one of the main things that I see that happens in the classroom today, and not even just the classroom in elementary school, middle school, and high school, but even classrooms beyond that in upper level education, and even when we're learning professional development, is attention, right? One of the biggest things that I see is that they have a hard time focusing. And these schools now, they try to call it ADHD, right? Or ADD, or whatever they want to call it, whatever label they want to put on us to make us seem like something is wrong with us, right? Just because they don't have the ability to tune in to our excellence. But I do see that. And that's actually another quality that really helped me, that I learned from crack cocaine and music communities, is that, for example, like when crack cocaine addicts wake up, they're thinking about, they focus, right? They're like, how can I get high? Like they know what their goal is for today, to get high. And from the time they wake up in the morning to the time they go to sleep, they know what that goal is, to get high. And they're focused on that, right? They can focus on that all day long, every single day for the next 10 years if they need to. And it never changes. That focus, that clarity, although I don't think that any of us need to get involved with crack cocaine, but that clarity, that focus is something that we can tune into to any individual, whether they are in elementary school or graduate level school. And learning how to tune into that focus is very key.
Yes, and you're right. We're not saying anybody needs to go pick up these habits. We're not saying that, but we're talking about leadership lessons from the bar, right? Leadership lessons from what we're seeing in our community that typically sentence our young people. And this, we can work together to change that, to make it something more positive.
That's absolutely right.
And when I look at you and I hear the resiliency, and I'm like, where did that come from?
That's really where it came from. You never take no. Never take no.
Wow. I'm just going to pause to say, welcome to our guests who are watching us. This is just, this is a dynamic show tonight, and I'm excited. Hey, Kelvin, thank you for joining us. And Kelvin say, and they will chase all night for weeks at a time without sleep after their goal. And that is, that is a lesson. And it's, wow, that, when you said it like that, it made me think, when we see on newscasts and documentaries that people had like $30,000 a week and $30,000 a month crack habits, and you're like, where'd you get that kind of money? But you said it, you're focused. What if we went after our goals and our desire and our purpose with that level of focus and intentionality? We would be unstoppable.
We would be. And that's what we have to do. We have to tune into the unstoppableness, right? Make them unstoppable, unbreakable, unshakable. That's what we got to do.
Wow. So now tell me, after you discovered that your mom was shot, did you live with family, or did you all go into the system? What happened to you and your brother in that time?
So at that point, I went with my grandmother. My grandmother took us in, and it was really difficult because my grandmother was older. She was elderly, so she really couldn't control us. And we were surrounded by our community that had been just kind of downgraded, that she had been in for 50 years. But the community had been downgraded with crack cocaine and gentrification in some parts. So it took a lot of money from the communities where we really needed it at, where we were in the heart in, because that's what we could afford. My grandmother did the best she could. God bless her soul. She's not here anymore. In fact, she passed away right when I started law school. She passed away right when I started law school. Like two weeks after I started law school, she had a stroke and went into a coma.
Wow. I'm so sorry she didn't get to see that, but
I know
she saw it.
I did, like, and I wanted her to see it so bad. I wanted her to see it so bad, but you know what? I'm doing it for her now. I wanted her to see my babies. I wanted her to see, that it wasn't always going to be like it was in the past. There was a moment that I remember before I went to law school where I was with one of my crazy clients. And he had to be maybe about 400 pounds. And he would always wear these pants that were way too little, and his belts were always super tight, right? And so because his pants were too little, his belts were tight, he always looked like this oversized, like, ice cream scoop on top of an ice cream cone.
Yeah.
So I used to always laugh every time I see him. But one day when we were interacting, without going into many details, because he had belts that didn't fit him, he always had these cuts and boils that were right below his belly. So I remember being under him, and I normally would zone out during those times, and just go to another place. But at that point, I couldn't zone out anymore. And I was like, you know what? I have to do something to change my life. I have to actually figure out what I need to do to become an attorney, or I'm just gonna have to kill myself. And I remember thinking about my grandmother and my promise that it wasn't always going to be that way, and I just at that point, once I made the decision, because I had to make a conscious decision, because there was always people around me who would say, oh, you could do this, you could do that, you have so much potential, you could do X, Y, and Z with your life. But you have to make that conscious decision. Like, it has to be something in you where you say, okay, this is the moment where things are going to change. It can't be something that you're wavering on, where you're like, maybe, I don't know. It has to be a conscious decision. But that was the moment that I made that conscious decision, that I had to change my life. And then from there, I started working for the National Organization for Women, which was the largest women's organization in the world. And I was able to actually help a lot of sex workers who had been in my position to get out of their circumstance and to empower themselves. I organized the largest March for Women's Lives. At that point, it was 1.25 million people. And then from there, I went to law school, became an attorney. And then after that, I worked for, Supreme Court judges. I worked for one of the first Black African-American male attorneys in the Colorado District, Judge Wiley Daniels. So I got to do a lot of amazing things after that, but all of it came from that decision, to do something different. All things work in our favor. Whatever has happened to us in our past is just preparing us for our present. So I'm blessed, and I'm grateful for it.
I applaud you. And sometimes working as a therapist with teens, I always wonder, and I still try to figure out what makes some teens more resilient than others. And I don't know that I have the answer. I don't know, because we could have two teens who've gone through similar circumstances and suffered, the same level of trauma, and the responses could be different. And one of the things that I've heard you say is, from the time I was 8 years old, I knew I was going to be an attorney. And I wonder if it's dream or purpose or something like that makes the difference in who's resilient or how they respond to those situations.
I think a lot of it breaks down to what options a person feels like they have when they're in their darkest moments. Like, for example, and because I'm just speaking this out right now, it's probably not going to come out the way I want it to exactly. But I was listening, like, for example, when Cardi B was saying how, she used to be, she was a stripper, and she used to talk about how she was drugging men and robbing them, right? And then the whole world got pissed off at her and said, oh my God, I can't believe that you did this. We used to love you. And now, you're Bill Cosby, all of that, right?
Right.
One of the things that she said when she was in her video is that she said that she didn't have a choice. She had to do what she had to do. That was something that really replayed in my head a lot when I heard her say that. And what that did for me is it made me realize that a lot of people are doing the things that they're doing because they feel like they don't have a choice, right? And people feel like they don't have a choice when they don't see anybody that has taken the path that they want to take or that they think, that are out there, So that resilience that you were talking about a little earlier, I think that it comes from understanding that you have options no matter what you've been through in the past, right? If Cardi B felt like she had options when she was doing what she was doing, she would have chosen something different, right? But because she felt like she didn't have a choice, that was her circumstance. That was where she was stuck at. She was like, okay, this is what I got to do. I'm gonna do it, right? So I feel like if we let our youth know that they have options and give them examples of people that have been, in circumstances that are beyond painful, and give them examples of how they work themselves out of that, then they'll start to realize that they can do anything. And once you realize you have those options, then you're not confined by, I don't have a choice anymore, because you know what, I can do something different. I can be what I want to do. And honestly, I don't think that, sometimes you don't really have people in your community that have done it before you. Like, I didn't have anybody in my community that had done it before me.
Right.
And it's really hard when you are in a place where nobody is around that can give you an example of where you want to go. So I think it's so important, first of all, to get our youth and our community around other people that have done it, and not just people that have supposedly taken the straight and narrow way up to the top, even though nobody takes the straight and narrow way up to the top. They just only tell you the positive points, right? But if we're honest with our youth and honest with our children about our journey, because they're going to make mistakes, and stop trying to encourage perfection, and let them know that a lot of times this journey to the top, we make people think that it's straight up, right? But in reality, it's like this, like this, right? So we have to tell them about those valleys that's coming in that journey to the top, so that when they get to that valley, they don't stop right there. Because if they get to that valley, you're blocked by the two mountains that are beside you, right? So you can't see your way out, and you're like, oh man, I'm stuck here, let me just sit, I'm gonna sit in this valley. But once they realize they have options, and they realize that there's something on the other side of that, then they're going to look for a ladder somewhere to try to climb out. So I really think it's just making sure that our kids and our youth know that they have options, and surrounding them with people and resources that are going to make those options available for them. That's what creates the resilience.
And see, that's what I love about what you're saying. It's so right on. And what you talked about the optimist club, when you make it, I'm like, you have to go back in and show the kids that look like you, give them that hope that they too can do this. Because in some of our communities, when people that look like our children in the community have made it, they move out of the community.
Exactly.
And so it's important to go back into the community and really, really say, hey, I made it out, and I love the story. It wasn't a straight and narrow.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a straight shot up. You're going to have this, that, and the other. And that's what I love about what you talk about, the Optimist Club. That's what I love about the work that we do with Girls in Action, and bringing women leaders in front of our girls to show them that, hey, there's not a box that you have to fit in.
That's right. That's right. There's not a box. And sometimes you can't wait for somebody that's done it before you. Sometimes you can't wait for somebody that's looked like you. It's okay to be the first. And if you do become the first, make sure there's a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth, and 999 also, right? That's what's important.
That's right. And you do have to blaze those trails sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes. That is so amazing. That is so amazing. So how's your family doing now, and how are you? You've done amazing things. Um, what does it look like recreating or creating a different legacy for your brothers and your family, your children, and things like that?
That's something that I'm constantly trying to um, reintegrate into my family today, because now I have my own two little boys, and I still I'm very, very close to my family. My siblings are very, very close with me as well, and all of them. All of them have that entrepreneurial spirit, and I do think that a lot of it is because entrepreneurship saved me, because that was my passion. So because entrepreneurship saved me, I'm constantly trying to find the empowerment in others so that they can use entrepreneurship to empower themselves as well. So, my siblings today, they've started so many business endeavors. My little sister, I have a little sister as well. Now, I didn't have it back then, but I have a little sister now. She's in law school, North Carolina Central University, Equal Pride.
Well, little sister.
Yes. And I'm so blessed. And one of the things that I do see is that, they have a tendency to do it better than I did. Right. They do it better than I did because they've seen my mistakes. They've seen my mistakes and they've seen my successes. So they realize that they have to take a slightly different path to get past some of the obstacles that I fell into, which I'm grateful for. And my kids, I have my 8-year-old son. He's like a little mini me, but he's like 100 times better. So he's competing in Optimist international speech competitions now, and he's, right now he's planning his next TED Talk,
Wow.
which I absolutely love. He's been doing, speech competitions all around Georgia. The Hear Our Voices competition. My other son, I have an 11-year-old as well. He's, really big into sports and football. So, and it really is about building a legacy. So at this point in my life, I've actually started learning not necessarily about building incomes, but building legacies a little bit more so that they can take something back with them. And when I say building legacies, there's a 7-part system to legacies, but it's not just about building a business that you're going to give to them, but building an educational system that you're going to give to them, making sure that you're giving them the knowledge to be able to be prosperous, making sure that you're clearing their mindset, making sure you're giving them the resources and tools so that they can pass it on from generation to generation. And generations is not just about family, it's also about the community, so giving them that mindset to be able to give back to the community.
Yes. And you're talking my talk, because I am on a mission of building a legacy and passing on a legacy of health and mental wellness.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's for so long that's been shoved under the rug, ignored. And I just believe that if we are aware of some of those things, especially in the mental health component, mental health field, how that affects us, I just think we can do so much better.
I absolutely agree with that. I think that mental health, first of all, we have this negative connotation about mental health in communities, and that's the first thing we have to get over is the negative connotation behind it, because mental health is positive mental health as well as some of the struggles that we have. But if we start addressing it early, I think it's so important to start addressing mental health at younger ages in schools, like teaching kids even in elementary school how to have a healthy mental state, because that generally a lot of the problems that are developing, they've developed decades before we became adults, but we don't start addressing it until then. But if we deal with it when they're in elementary school and teach them healthy ways to be able to manage their mental health, then a lot of these problems now, because keep in mind, I moved here from Colorado. They still shooting up people in Colorado in the schools. But if they had addressed some of these mental health issues in the elementary schools and gave them managing tools,
That's it.
So that when they came across these situations later on in life, when they got to high school and middle school, they knew how to manage it.
Yes.
Then it's not about gun control. A lot of these politicians out here want to talk about gun control. I believe in gun control as well, but it's not even about that. We need to step in early and make sure that we're dealing with the mental health at earlier ages, so that they're not even coming into schools in the first place trying to shoot it up.
Exactly. And increasing the emotional intelligence of our
absolutely kids. Yes,
that is so, I mean, so that they know how to respond appropriately in situations
That's
instead
right.
of going shooting up people. I mean, it's such, oh yeah, I can get off on a whole soapbox. I really can. But oh my goodness, I have enjoyed this time talking with you. Would you please talk to that young girl who is struggling and she's thinking that she's doing what she needs to do, or she feels like she needs to do, right? And she's not necessarily looking at it through the lens of entrepreneurship. And she might feel hopeless or that this is all that there is. Would you take just a few minutes to talk to that young girl and give her some nuggets to help her realize that everything that she's going through is propelling her for a better future?
Absolutely. Like right now, you may feel like this pain is the worst thing that's going on in your life, but this pain is literally just a stepping stone. You have to keep moving. Use those stepping stones to get to where you need to be. One of my siblings told me some years ago. They said that they said that they were grateful for me because I taught them that when there was no superheroes to come and rescue you, that you have to be your own. So this is your opportunity to be a superhero, right? Even when the world would try to villainize you, because believe me, whether you are a perfect angel, a saint, or a Virgin Mary, they will try to villainize you. Even when they're trying to villainize you, realize that you are a superhero, and this is your time to come in and rescue yourself. Don't wait for nobody, because you got it.
Yes, and you're right. You're the first person that you have to save. I think about
Absolutely,
I think
absolutely.
about how you did it, and you went and got your siblings and you took them along with you. That is remarkable.
We got to. We have to. That's how we build as a community. Look how we climb.
Right. I know that we're having a little technical difficulties. There's some delay going on, but oh my gosh, it has been such a pleasure having this conversation with you and having you grace the forum of Teen Talk Live. Please tell people again, tell them how to say your name, tell them where they can reach you, and tell them what's coming up next for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So my name is Nselaa Ward, Juris Doctor. When you're searching for it, it's in like Nancy, Selaa. Ward is WARD, Juris Doctor. You can just put JD in there. I would love for you guys. You guys can reach me on the TED Talk. Put comments there when it's coming out in June, so you can Google. You can actually look it up on YouTube or on the TED Talk website. Look for leadership and diversity lessons from the bar, or you can look for my name and make sure you leave a comment because I am going to respond to you guys definitely and let you know that I see you. You can also reach me on social media. My handles are all Nselaa Ward, Nselaa Ward. So Facebook is Nselaa Ward. My Instagram is Nselaa Ward. My Snapchat is Nselaa Ward. You can reach the firm for business services at ninavafirm.com, NINAVAFIRM.com, ninavafirm.com. And we also have an amazing Mother's Day program right now where we're giving away to all mothers a free Mother's Day gift. And you can get it to by texting 404-410-0200. Text the word mother to 404-410-0200, 404-410-0200. And the package that we're giving away to mothers, we're giving you a free photo shoot. We're giving you a free business blueprint consultation. We're giving you access to a free mastermind. We're incorporating your businesses for free. And then there's something else in there that we're giving you too. I just can't think of it right now. But text it and you're going to get it. All right.
Oh my goodness, that is so amazing. Thank you. Thank you again. And when we're done, if you would drop your contact in the comment section for those who might have missed it, you all want to connect with this dynamic woman who has graced us on this episode of Teen Talk Live. And if you're catching us on the replay, remember to share this out and like it, comment, let us know that you have enjoyed this segment of Teen Talk Live. And catch us every Monday night on Facebook Live at Facebook .com/Ann.Dillard on Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, I've been your host, Ann Dillard, licensed marriage and family therapist, and it has been a pleasure to be here with you tonight. Peace. See you next time. Thank you, Nselaa.
Thanks.